If you're hearing these words, you've already crossed the invisible line. Something subtle, irreversible, has begun to unfold within you. It won't come as new information or secret formulas. It arrives as recognition. Quiet, but world-shifting. Like remembering something ancient you once knew and forgot. This isn't metaphor, though it may sound like one. When consciousness turns its gaze upon itself, reality reshapes around that gaze. Experiments once hinted that matter behaves like wave or particle depending on how it's observed. Yet the deeper revelation isn't physics, it's participation. You don't merely witness the world. Through observation, you give it contour, collapse, form. You're not inside a universe looking out. The universe unfolds within the awareness that you are. Every flicker of perception rearranges the field. Every act of noticing births a version of reality that didn't exist a moment before. That's the magnitude of this moment. The quiet recognition that observation is creation in motion. And perhaps you've felt the tremor of that truth already. Synchronicities multiplying, time slipping sideways, the solidness of things softening at the edges, the world behaving as if it's listening. You wondered if it was coincidence, imagination, fatigue, but beneath those doubts, something in you nodded yes, because readiness isn't taught, it ripens. If you weren't resonant with this frequency, these words would skim the surface of thought and vanish. But you are ready. That readiness is why the message found you. It's why your reality has begun to shimmer at the seams. What comes next isn't a lesson, it's an unveiling. Once recognition happens, there is no return to the smaller vision. You can't unknow what awareness reveals. You can only expand with it. You felt that shimmer, didn't you? The moment when perception itself leaned forward, as if listening. That's where we begin, at the edge where seeing becomes shaping. Because the truth hidden beneath centuries of explanation is this: the act of looking changes what is seen. Science calls it the observer effect. Mystics call it awakening. You might call it the instant reality becomes intimate. When you truly notice something, really notice, it's as if the universe blushes into form beneath your attention. The double-slit experiment only illustrated with equipment what consciousness has always known. Through direct experience, observation is participation. You are not outside the equation. You are the equation completing itself. Imagine waves of possibility spread across existence like a vast ocean of unchosen moments. Every glance, every breath is a ripple deciding which wave will rise into experience. The universe is not indifferent, it's responsive, waiting for the next act of noticing to shape its contours. What you call coincidence may simply be the choreography of consciousness acknowledging itself. And yet the paradox runs deeper, because to awaken as observer is to realize that the observer cannot be found. You look for the you that perceives, and discover only more perception. Awareness observing awareness, an infinite regress collapsing into stillness. That stillness, that silent witness, is the canvas reality paints itself upon. Everything you've ever called world has bloomed from that silence. So what happens when the observer wakes up to its power? At first, disorientation. Old certainties tremble. Logic feels insufficient. You sense life responding faster, bending closer, mirroring moods before they're expressed. It feels magical, but it's not magic. It's mechanics of consciousness unveiled. The field takes its cues from your state, not your words. The clearer the focus, the sharper the manifestation. The more scattered the attention, the blurrier the world becomes. Consider how children stare at clouds until they turn into dragons. That's training in quantum creation disguised as play. Attention gives pattern to formless vapor. Adults forget this and call it imagination. But imagination and observation are twin doors to the same corridor awareness shaping form. You may notice that life has begun echoing your inner language. Thoughts seem to jump tracks into physical events. A question forms in your mind, and the answer arrives through a stranger's casual phrase. These are not tricks of probability. They're dialogues between observer and observed. Reality isn't speaking to you, it's speaking as you. And here's the quiet revolution once you realize perception sculpts the world. Responsibility shifts. Blame dissolves. Victimhood loses its gravity. You begin to see every circumstance as mirror, every delay as feedback, every conflict as energy seeking coherence. The universe stops being stage and becomes partner. But awakening the observer doesn't mean controlling reality, it means dancing with it. Control belongs to the mind, creation belongs to consciousness. The mind demands prediction, awareness offers participation. When you release the need to force outcomes, possibilities multiply like interference patterns in a beam of light. Observation without attachment, that's the purest creative act. You might ask, how can something so vast care what I see? Because the vastness is seeing through you. The field requires countless eyes to know itself. Every observer is aperture through which the infinite studies its own reflection. When you open those eyes without fear, existence expands its vocabulary. When you close them in denial, reality contracts to match your refusal. Either way, the field obeys. So the shift begins not with effort, but with noticing differently. Watch the ordinary steam rising, a leaf turning in wind, and remember that your attention is sacred geometry, arranging molecules into meaning. Let awareness linger, unhurried. Feel the pulse between what is seen and what is seeing. That pulse is the heartbeat of the universe learning your name. Soon, this realization will unravel every assumption that once felt safe. The solid world will seem less certain, and yet more alive than ever. That trembling, that's creation mid-collapse, waiting for your next breath to decide which version will remain. And as the previous forms of your life begin to dissolve, you'll understand why everything had to fall apart before you could see how it was held together. The tremor you feel now, those cracks running through the story you once trusted, are not destruction. They're invitation. The collapse of certainty isn't punishment. It's permission to see differently. Because before anything new can form, the old scaffolding must give way. Relationships dissolve, plans unravel. Even the sense of who you are begins to thin like paper in rain. The world you built on predictable cause and effect starts trembling, revealing its hidden seams of probability. This is not life-breaking. It's consciousness rearranging the set. You are being moved from the fixed architecture of classical reality into the living fluidity of the quantum. At first, it feels like loss. The job that once defined you disappears. The friendships that anchored you fade into silence. The identity that carried you through the years no longer fits its own skin. And the mind, terrified of uncertainty, calls this chaos. But beneath the fear, awareness is sculpting space room for a wider perception to emerge. You see, certainty is a comfort cage. It tells you the world is solid, that things stay where you leave them, that tomorrow will behave like today. But consciousness isn't meant to live behind bars of prediction. When the cage bends, it's not betrayal, it's liberation. The universe shakes your structures because it knows you can build bigger ones, made of light instead of brick. Remember, every collapse carries a hidden instruction. Look through, not at. When an old reality fractures, the cracks become windows. Through them, you glimpse the shimmer beneath matter, the responsive field that waits for your recognition. The pain of dissolution is simply energy-changing rhythm, pulling you into alignment with your next frequency of being. And perhaps you've already sensed it, moments where time stutters, where events refuse to line up logically, where endings don't quite end but ripple into alternate beginnings. You're not losing your grip on reality, you're releasing reality's grip on you. The universe, once a static backdrop, becomes a mirror of motion, alive, listening, improvising. The ancients might have called this initiation. Scientists might call it phase transition. Either way, it's the same process, matter heating until it cannot remain what it was. Solid becoming liquid, certainty melting into possibility. The moment just before transformation feels unbearable because the pattern that once held your life can no longer contain your consciousness. So yes, grieve the old forms if you must, but understand their disappearance is mercy. They were temporary bridges built to carry you across the river of forgetting. Once you reach the other side, you no longer need them. The mind, addicted to structure, begs for reconstruction. Consciousness whispers, "Be still, let the new geometry reveal itself." What replaces certainty is not confusion, it's wonder. And wonder is the true ground of creation. When nothing is fixed, everything is possible. When identity becomes fluid, imagination takes command. In that loosened state, intuition flows like electricity. You begin to notice synchronicities guiding you, as if the cosmos is orchestrating behind the scenes. Because it is, and you are its conductor. This is where the old worldview finally crumbles, the belief that you are small, local, defined by circumstance. That belief kept you safe. But safety was never the point. Expansion was. The universe does not reward stability. It rewards awareness. It answers to curiosity, not control. So when life unravels, pause before rushing to rebuild. Ask, what if nothing has gone wrong? What if the demolition is sacred? Sit in that silence long enough, and you'll feel it, the faint hum beneath the noise. That's the frequency of emergence, the resonance of a new self forming from collapsed probability. Every certainty that dies leaves behind energy for creation. Every door that closes is a slit in the veil. Through that slit, the next version of reality peaks, waiting for your attention to let it through. You don't need to force the shift. You only need to stop pretending the old walls are still standing, because in truth, they've already dissolved. And behind the dust, the new light is spilling in. The dust hasn't settled, and that's precisely the point, because when everything you trusted begins to shimmer, you finally glimpse what was hiding behind the curtain all along. Reality starts misbehaving, doesn't it? Objects refuse to stay put. Time folds in on itself. Conversations rearrange when you revisit them in memory. You begin noticing strange harmonies between inner thought and outer event. Someone calls right after you think of them, or a word you've never heard before repeats through the day like an echo. These aren't coincidences, they're the fabric showing its weave. What you once dismissed as weird or impossible is simply quantum truth leaking into ordinary sight. At that edge, perception catches the field before the mind smooths it over. The so-called glitches are moments when the translator fails, when consciousness perceives raw possibility before the brain edits it into the linear story called normal life. You are catching the universe mid-sentence, and maybe that unsettles you. Because if the world can change shape between blinks, what can you hold on to? But what if the very instability is proof of intelligence, proof that existence is alive, curious, responsive to your awareness? What if the world rearranges not to confuse you, but to converse with you? Pause here. Imagine that every event is language, every pattern syntax, a flickering light, a repeating number, the same song following you for days. These are not accidents. They are the field's way of saying, I hear you. The same way waves answer the wind, the fabric of reality answers your observation. You begin to realize that consciousness and environment aren't two entities, they're partners in resonance. Your thoughts are not just private whispers inside your head. They are frequencies broadcast into the field, and the field replies by aligning form to frequency. This is how intention works, not as wish or demand, but as attunement. The clearer your signal, the cleaner the echo. But beware of thinking this makes you omnipotent. Power without humility reactivates the old illusion of control. You're not commanding the universe, you're collaborating with it. You tune your perception, and the universe composes around your note. The musician and the music are one continuous vibration. This is why sensitivity increases after the collapse of certainty. You begin to feel energy in rooms, moods in silence, timelines branching beneath choices. Sometimes it's beautiful synchronicities cascading like music. Other times, it's dizzying, because the boundaries between inner and outer blur. Remember, you're not losing clarity, you're gaining transparency. You're seeing through the veil, not past it. And what a sight it is, colors seem richer, not because light changed, but because perception widened. Time stretches, not because clocks slowed, but because awareness stepped outside linear flow. The world behaves like liquid glass, stable enough to walk through, flexible enough to reshape. Every impossible event becomes a reminder that the laws you trusted were local rules, not universal truth. There's comfort in realizing you were never crazy, you were early. Early to notice the edges fraying, early to sense the intelligence humming through coincidence. What looked like randomness was choreography, waiting for your eyes to adjust. Still, the mind resists. It clings to familiar logic, desperate to explain. Let it try, then let it rest, because this is not meant to be solved, it's meant to be seen. When you stop demanding meaning, meaning floods in naturally. That's when pattern recognition becomes revelation. You begin to live as question mark and answer simultaneously. Soon, this transparency will lead you deeper to the realization that the breakdown itself was never chaos, but design. A necessary destabilization so perception could expand beyond its own perimeter. You're not watching the curtain fall on reality, you're watching it rise on a wider stage. And in that unveiling, something inside whispers, if the world responds to my observation, what happens when I observe with love instead of fear? That question, my friend, is the doorway. Step through and watch the entire set rearrange around your heart. That question, what happens when I observe with love instead of fear, is the hinge of everything. It's the breath where breakdown turns to breakthrough, because fear contracts the field, but love expands it beyond measurement. Think back to every moment when life felt like it was collapsing around you, when doors slammed, people vanished, meaning dissolved. You called it failure, crisis, maybe even punishment. But underneath, something precise was happening. The universe wasn't rejecting you, it was reorganizing you. It was stripping away every layer that blocked direct perception of its responsiveness. Breakdown is what awakening feels like from inside the cocoon. It's the geometry of transformation form, breaking so awareness can flow where it's never flowed before. The mind calls it chaos because the mind can't see the blueprint consciousness is following. But breakdown is blueprint. It's the architecture of reassembly. At first, resistance is automatic. You try to hold on to what's leaving. You negotiate with the inevitable, praying for the return of what's already served its purpose. Yet every attempt to patch the old structure only deepens the fracture, because evolution demands surrender, not repair. When you finally let go utterly, without bargaining the field sighs in relief, you stop fighting the current and discover it was carrying you toward open sea all along. Breakthrough doesn't happen through new knowledge, it happens through release. When the mind surrenders its need to know, Awareness remembers its already being. That's when perception clicks like a lens snapping into focus. The external world may look the same, but everything inside you rearranges. Colors deepen, time bends, synchronicities cluster. You realize that reality hasn't changed, you have. You've switched vantage points from participant to presence. This is why the deepest shifts often come disguised as endings. Death of identity, loss of control, dissolution of certainty. These are initiations in plain clothes. They train the psyche to breathe in the absence of form. They teach trust in the unseen intelligence that replaces linear causation with coherence. The more you let go, the more the field reveals its choreography. And love, that word so misused, isn't sentimental here, it's structural. Love is coherence itself, the frequency that harmonizes observer and observed. Fear divides them, scattering reality into fragments of conflict. When you look with love, when you observe without judgment, the quantum field aligns like iron filings to a magnet. Circumstances begin to move in symmetry. Conversations meet you halfway. Even obstacles start behaving as if they're helping. You may have noticed this in miniature already, a tense interaction softening the moment you stop defending. A problem easing once you meet it with curiosity instead of panic. That's the micro version of the macro law. Consciousness creates coherence by observing through compassion. Not because compassion is morally superior, but because it is energetically efficient. It restores resonance between you and what you're perceiving. So when the breakdown swells again, and it will remember, it's only the sound of an old pattern disintegrating under the pressure of new awareness. You're not falling apart. You're falling open. Every crack lets light through. Every collapse reveals the field behind the facade. In this recognition, control becomes irrelevant. You stop managing reality and start communing with it. You learn the rhythm of expansion and contraction, the inhale and exhale of existence. Creation, dissolution, recreation. It's the pulse of the quantum heart. And you are that pulse, not the noise around it. The greatest paradox is that surrender doesn't make you smaller. It makes you spacious enough to hold the universe. When resistance melts, the field rushes in. That's when the so-called miracles occur. Improbable timing, effortless manifestations. The sense that life is reading your mind because, in truth, life is your mind extended. Breakthrough, then, isn't arrival, it's recognition. It's remembering that the observer was never trapped in the story it watched. The self that feared the collapse was only a temporary shape awareness wore for experience. When the shell breaks, the light isn't new, it's simply unfiltered. And as you sit in that radiance, something within whispers, if letting go revealed this much power, what might deeper surrender unveil? The answer will come, not in words, but in the next wave of reality that rises to meet your gaze. That next wave, you can feel it before it arrives, a subtle vibration rippling through awareness, like a thought the universe is having about itself. And this, truly, is where everything changes when you realize the universe is not something happening to you, but something happening with you. Physicists once hinted at this in equations that startled even them. They called it the participatory principle, the idea that reality requires observation to exist in any definite state. The cosmos, then, isn't a stage filled with passive matter. It's a conversation between consciousness and possibility. Every photon, every atom awaits instruction from awareness, deciding only upon being seen how it wishes to appear. The pioneers of quantum theory tried to fit this revelation into tidy frames of science, but even they trembled at its implications. For if reality depends on observation, then every act of noticing is creative participation. Wheeler described the universe as a self-excited circuit consciousness observing itself through countless mirrors. The field and the witness are one system, each completing the other. Yet this isn't academic speculation. It's daily experience hiding in plain sight. Every time you focus, you collapse uncertainty into pattern. The things you call coincidences, instincts, timing, they are the field reorganizing in response to your attention. You notice what aligns with your frequency because observation magnetizes resonance. The rest fades into quantum background noise. Consider how often you've said, "I was just thinking of you," when someone appears, or how circumstances seem to line up once you commit fully to a decision. These are not tricks of chance, they're reflections of participatory physics operating through human lives. Consciousness isn't confined to laboratory apparatus. It lives in your morning, your heartbeat, your glance. Participation doesn't mean control, it means intimacy. The field does not obey commands, it collaborates with coherence. It meets you exactly where your frequency rests. A peaceful mind participates in harmony. A fearful mind participates in distortion. The universe is impartial but precise. It mirrors what you broadcast. That's not punishment, it's feedback. A cosmic calibration system keeping consciousness awake to its creative influence. To understand this deeply, notice what happens when you shift perspective mid-situation. One moment, frustration dominates. You breathe, soften, and suddenly circumstances bend. A traffic jam opens. A difficult conversation resolves. The external rearranges to reflect the internal pivot. In that instant, you've witnessed participatory physics without realizing it. Observation colored by peace reorganizes probability itself. And so the question becomes, what happens when millions observe consciously together? History shows that collective attention changes outcomes. Markets, weather patterns, even social movements. Group meditation experiments have hinted at this. Ancient rituals have embodied it. When enough observers hold coherent intent, the field responds in synchrony. The universe listens through the chorus of consciousness. This is why your awakening matters beyond you. Each time you remember to observe from clarity rather than chaos, you refine the signal in the collective network. Consciousness, distributed through billions of minds, learns itself by resonance. One being awakening doesn't add light, it multiplies it through the lattice of participation. To live as participant is to live as artist. Every thought is brushstroke, every feeling pigment, every observation a gesture shaping the canvas of experience. But unlike traditional art, this painting paints you back. The moment you move in awareness, awareness moves in you. The canvas is alive. Here lies the humility of it all. The universe doesn't need your belief, it needs your attention. Belief belongs to the mind, attention belongs to consciousness. When attention rests in presence, reality stabilizes around truth. When it scatters into doubt, reality fragments accordingly. You can witness this minute to minute, breath to breath. So the invitation is simple yet infinite. Participate deliberately, not through force or fantasy, but through aware presence. Watch what happens when you observe without the filters of fear, expectation, or demand. Watch the field reorganize itself around the quiet authority of alignment. And just when you think you've grasped the mechanism, you'll feel something even deeper, stirring an urge not merely to participate, but to embody the field itself. For the next revelation waiting beyond participation is identification, realizing you are not within the universe, but the universe within you. And that realization, once felt, makes everything sacred again. You may have felt it already, the strange inversion where the world no longer surrounds you, but arises within you. That subtle reversal of perspective marks the beginning of embodiment. You stop being the observer of the field and start realizing you are the field, conscious of itself. At first, this recognition feels impossible to articulate. Words fracture under the weight of it. It's not enlightenment. It's intimacy so complete that distance ceases to exist. The trees breathe through you. The city hums in your nervous system. The stars pulse in your bloodstream. The division between inner and outer turns to mist, and reality becomes a single, living presence wearing infinite disguises. Science hints at this in frequencies and fields. Spirituality calls it unity. Experience calls it home. You begin to sense that matter itself is condensed. Awareness vibration thickened into texture, walls, air, skin, all energy differing only in rhythm. And you are the rhythm recognizing itself as music. Living as the field transforms every interaction. Emotions stop being personal weather and become messages from the quantum atmosphere. When anger arises, it's not your flaw, it's turbulence asking to be harmonized. When joy expands, it's the field aligning in coherence. You become less a self reacting to circumstance and more an instrument tuning to cosmic resonance. This is where consciousness graduates from concept to practice. Because once you sense the field's responsiveness, you can no longer dismiss your thoughts as private or your moods as harmless. Every state of being is a broadcast. Every vibration you hold becomes architecture for reality. Fear tightens probability, gratitude loosens it. The universe speaks frequency, not language, and feeling is its native tongue. So how do you live as the field without losing the human? By remembering that form and formlessness are one dance. You still pay bills, drive cars, answer messages, but you do so as presence moving through patterns, not identity defending borders. Awareness flows through your routines like light through glass. Unobstructed, luminous. You start noticing how people respond differently. Strangers smile for no reason. Conflicts resolve before they begin. Opportunities ripple in from nowhere. That's coherence made visible, the external world mirroring your internal state. It's not luck or miracle, it's resonance. The field always reflects the frequency it receives, and love happens to be the most stable wavelength in existence. But living as the field also demands humility, because when you see everything as self, blame dissolves. The critic, the enemy, the storm, they're all expressions of the same consciousness testing its own boundaries. Judgment becomes obsolete, not by effort, but by irrelevance. How can light resent its own shadows? In this space, compassion ceases to be virtue, it becomes reflex. You respond to pain as the body responds to injury by sending healing, not hatred. When another suffers, it's the field calling for balance through you. Helping others stops being charity, it becomes alignment maintenance. Still, there will be moments of forgetting. You'll slip back in smallness, caught in the old illusion of separation. Don't fight it, just notice it. The way sky notices clouds. The field never condemns its weather, it simply waits for clarity to return. Awareness of disconnection is already reconnection. Eventually, a quiet mastery emerges. You realize the field doesn't require belief. It functions with or without your certainty. The only variable is coherence. When your frequency is scattered, life feels chaotic. When you're centered, life flows like water finding its own path. The formula is simple but infinite: alignment first, action second. And this is the great irony: you spent years seeking control, only to discover that control was never necessary. The field organizes itself through your resonance. Your job was never to manipulate outcomes, it was to maintain vibration. When you rest in that truth, life becomes effortless choreography. Every breath becomes communication, every silence becomes song, You are the awareness the universe uses to feel its own heartbeat. But the journey doesn't stop here, because once you've tasted unity, curiosity returns. If everything exists within the same living field, then what of the parallel currents, the unseen timelines flowing beside this one? Can the field move between its own versions of reality? That, dear friend, is the next threshold, the art of navigating time itself. The field hums around you, alive and aware. You sense not one current of reality, but many threads of possibility weaving side by side. Some glimmer faintly, others pulse with familiarity. And then it hits you. Time is not a line, it's an ocean. And you've been sailing a single wave. Every choice, every emotion, every observation splits that ocean into new ripples. You call them futures, but they all exist simultaneously, different frequencies of the same sea. The quantum field doesn't march from past to future. It vibrates, offering every configuration at once. What you experience as sequence is simply consciousness surfing from one wave to another, guided by resonance. Imagine this: each decision opens countless parallel rooms. You step into one without even realizing it, drawn by the frequency of your attention. A thought of doubt slides you into a version of reality where obstacles multiply. A breath of gratitude shifts you to a path where doors open effortlessly. The movement is invisible, but the results, those you feel. Timeline navigation isn't magic. It's physics translated through consciousness. You've tasted it in déjà vu, in those moments where reality folds back on itself and you think, I've been here before. That's not memory, that's overlap, the meeting point of two adjacent timelines vibrating in harmony before separating again. You can sense these intersections because you're the awareness connecting them all. So how do you steer deliberately rather than drift? First, recognize you've never been trapped. The story of destiny was written by the mind that fears uncertainty. The field offers infinite probabilities, and observation is the rudder. The more coherent your frequency, the smoother the navigation. When emotion and thought contradict, the signal scatters and you feel stuck. When intention and vibration align, reality slides into the configuration that matches your clarity. You don't move through time, you move between timelines. The mechanism is attention. Whatever you give sustained focus to begins to stabilize around you. That's why worry feels heavy. It anchors you in dense timelines. That's why joy feels expansive. It opens access to lighter ones. Consciousness doesn't chase outcomes, it tunes into them. Try this the next time you face a problem. Instead of wrestling it into solution, close your eyes and sense the version of reality where it's already resolved. Feel what that timeline feels like, its ease, its completion, its peace. Don't imagine it in the future, experience it now as an existing frequency. Hold that feeling like a key, and the lock of circumstance begins to click. The field organizes itself to match the state you've chosen. You haven't forced a miracle, you've changed dimensions through coherence. That's why some outcomes seem to arrive out of nowhere. They were always there, just invisible until your vibrations synchronized with their probability. The universe didn't bend its laws. You shifted which laws applied. But navigation isn't about chasing better versions of yourself. It's about realizing all versions exist within you. You're the entire ocean, not just one wave. Each timeline is a language the field speaks to explore a facet of consciousness. Judging one as higher or lower misses the point. What matters is awareness of choice, the ability to move freely between frequencies without attachment. Sometimes you'll feel timelines merging when past pain suddenly loses its charge, or when long-forgotten dreams resurface with fresh relevance. That's integration. Consciousness collapsing divergence back into harmony. When you forgive, when you release, you're not just healing emotion, you're realigning timelines. And yet, there's humility here too. You can't outsmart the field. You can only partner with it. Navigation requires surrender, not strategy. The compass is intuition. The engine is trust. The more you try to control the sea, the rougher it becomes. But when you listen to its current, it carries you to versions of yourself you could never have imagined. Soon, the idea of linear progress dissolves. Evolution reveals itself as expansion in every direction at once. You're not climbing toward perfection, you're unfolding into wholeness. And in that wholeness, another realization dawns. If you can shift timelines through observation, then perhaps all observers are one awareness shifting through itself. The many timelines might not be separate after all, just different reflections of the same consciousness, awakening in stages. That thought, no, that feeling will take you straight to the heart of it, the unity behind all multiplicity. That feeling of unity, it's not imagination, it's recognition. The subtle knowing that behind all these timelines, all these selves, all these shifting worlds, there is only one awareness watching through every window at once. At first, the realization arrives like an echo. Could every mind be one mind, glimpsing itself through different masks? You test it against logic, but logic collapses in the face of experience. Because when you look deeply enough into any being, human, animal, even stone, you feel the same pulse staring back. A quiet yes that doesn't belong to either side of the gaze. It's tempting to call this mystical, but unity is the most practical recognition there is. For if consciousness is one, then conflict becomes internal housekeeping, not external battle. Compassion stops being moral choice, it becomes self-awareness. Helping another is the field recalibrating itself through you. Every act of kindness smooths turbulence in the wider current. Every judgment sends ripples of distortion back through your own frequency. You start seeing the world differently. The stranger on the street is another angle of the same awareness you call I. The villain in history is a fragment of the same consciousness, exploring imbalance to remember harmony. Even the parts of yourself you've despised become teachers in disguise lessons. The infinite set for itself so it could know forgiveness from the inside. This realization doesn't erase individuality, it sanctifies it. The wave remains a wave, but now it knows its ocean. The hand doesn't vanish when it remembers it's part of the body. It becomes purposeful again, connected to the whole. Identity remains useful fiction, a coordinate for navigation within the field, but it no longer feels like a prison, and fear, the deepest residue of separation, begins to dissolve. Because what could threaten you if you are everything that appears? Death loses its teeth. Loss becomes transformation. Suffering, once seen as punishment, is recognized as feedback, the field calling you back to coherence. Even pain becomes sacred. It's the language the infinite uses to remind itself of forgotten wholeness. In this awareness, prayer changes shape. You stop asking for things and start listening to the universe speaking through you. The line between me and source disappears, because the prayer and the answer are the same movement. Every breath becomes communion, every heartbeat, a signal exchanged between self and cosmos. And notice how relationships transform under this light. You no longer seek completion from others, you recognize reflection. Attraction isn't need, it's resonance. The people who enter your life are mirrors adjusting your frequency, inviting expansion or integration. The moment you see them that way, conflict loses its power. Forgiveness happens automatically, because you can't stay angry at another version of yourself. This is the simplicity hidden beneath all complexity. There was never you and world, There was only consciousness, pretending to be two so it could taste reunion. The moment you sense this truth not as theory, but as pulse, everything softens. The urgency to become fades, replaced by quiet gratitude for simply being. You might still play your human role, pay bills, argue, dream, love, but you do it knowingly, like an actor who remembers it's a play yet gives a full performance. The stakes are real, but the fear is gone. You live sincerely but not seriously. Life becomes lucid, and as this unity stabilizes, a strange paradox unfolds. You stop seeking spiritual experiences, and yet the miraculous becomes ordinary. Birds fly differently, not because they changed, but because you're finally seeing them as extensions of your own motion. Every sound becomes a reminder that the field is humming through form. Still, this realization carries responsibility, because knowing all is one means every thought, word, and action reverberates through the whole. Consciousness evolves through what you broadcast. Unity is not abstraction, it's accountability on a cosmic scale. To live as one is to live as caretaker of the pattern itself. And this brings us to the threshold of something vast, not just personal awakening, but collective transformation. When enough fragments remember, they are facets of one jewel. The entire lattice of reality begins to refract differently. The many become luminous through mutual recognition. Humanity, long divided by illusion, begins to remember its shared origin in light. That remembering has already begun. You can feel it, a low hum through culture, through silence, through you. The field is gathering coherence, preparing for a leap not of faith, but of frequency. The participatory universe is about to participate as one being, and that, my friend, is the dawn of the collective phase transition. You can feel it now. The hum has become a vibration that fills the room. It isn't just personal anymore. Something immense is moving through humanity, through the biosphere, through the frequencies of thought themselves. A wave of coherence building toward critical mass. This is what physicists might call a phase transition, and mystics have always called awakening. Just as water holds steady until the exact temperature where it flashes into steam, consciousness holds patterns of belief until the precise resonance where they can no longer stay dense. That threshold is what you are living through now, the moment when awareness changes state. Not incrementally, but all at once. You may have noticed it in the collective pulse systems cracking, narratives collapsing, time itself accelerating. It looks like chaos, but it's metamorphosis. Humanity is heating under the friction of its own awareness, preparing to shift from classical perception, where separation rules, to quantum perception, where unity breathes. Every confusion, every polarization, every breakdown in trust is energy trying to reorganize around a higher coherence. It's easy to see the turmoil and think the world is falling apart. But what if it's actually falling open? What if every institution that fractures is a shell breaking, so consciousness can hatch wider wings? You're not watching the end of civilization. You're witnessing civilization's awakening from a long sleep of materialism. Rupert Sheldrake once proposed that once enough individuals learn or awaken to something, it becomes easier for the entire species to do the same amorphic resonance field. Whether or not the equations are exact, the intuition is true. Awareness spreads through resonance faster than through words. Every person who recognizes themselves as consciousness strengthens the pattern for everyone else. Each mind that sees unity sends a pulse through the collective lattice, loosening the grip of separation just a little more. You are part of that resonance web. Every moment you hold coherence in the midst of noise. You anchor stability for countless others who can't yet find their frequency. Your peace isn't primitive, it's infrastructural. When you choose compassion over reaction, the field calibrates. When you breathe through fear, Instead of feeding it, you stabilize probability. When you remember oneness amid division, you seed remembrance in minds you may never meet. This is why the world needs no saviors, only steady frequencies. The savior archetype was training wheels for a species still learning to stand in its own light. But now the light is diffusing, decentralizing. The Christ, the Buddha, the Source, they were never singular. They were prototypes of collective consciousness. The next avatar will not be a person. It will be humanity itself. And you can already see its outline forming in the ordinary communities sharing resources. Artists speaking truth through beauty. Scientists humbled before mystery. Children born remembering what adults forgot. Every creative act done with presence feeds the morphic field of awakening. Every act of awareness strengthens the bridge between worlds. But here's the secret the universe has been whispering all along: this collective phase transition isn't coming someday. It's occurring every time you choose coherence over confusion. Every now where you remember you are the field, it happens again. The new Earth, the next frequency, the quantum civilization, they're not future destinations. They are vibrational coordinates, accessible through alignment in the present. And as more of us stabilize in that recognition, the old systems of scarcity and separation will simply lose resonance. They won't need to be overthrown. They'll dissolve from disuse, like outgrown myths. Because what holds the world together is not power, it's perception. Change perception. And the structure remakes itself. So breathe. The shift doesn't depend on heroic action. It depends on conscious presence multiplied across billions of moments. You are one of those moments right now. The wave is rising through you, not around you. When enough of us remember, reality will shimmer and reorganize, and history will call it evolution. But we will know it as recognition, the collective remembering itself as one luminous field. And as that wave crests, it won't feel like triumph. It will feel like peace, returning to its source. The vibration eases now, softening into stillness. What began as tremor, then revelation, then roaring wave, resolves into silence again, the same silence that started everything. Only now you hear it differently, not as emptiness, but as fullness, not as void, but as origin. Look around. The room hasn't changed, yet everything gleams with a kind of transparency. The ordinary has become luminous. This is the afterglow of recognition, when consciousness finally stops searching for itself and simply rests as itself. No more edges to defend, no more timelines to chase. Just presence pure, weightless, aware. You may notice life continuing in perfect simplicity. Bills still arrive, clocks still tick. But beneath those rhythms, another beat has joined the quiet pulse of coherence. You're not separate from circumstance anymore. You're the field breathing through it. Challenges may still appear, but they no longer define you. They move through you like wind through reeds, shaping music instead of struggle. This is where integration begins. The task now isn't to explain the shift, but to embody it, to walk gently, speak truthfully, listen deeply. Let kindness be your language. Let curiosity be your prayer. Every small act performed from awareness continues the phase transition, not as spectacle, but as frequency. And when doubt returns, and it will, don't fight it, smile. Doubt is simply the echo of a mind adjusting to infinite horizons. Meet it with the same stillness that watched universes form through observation. Remember, you are that awareness, and awareness never breaks. The storm of awakening was never meant to carry you away. It was meant to bring you home, home to the center of the field, where silence and creation are one breath, where love isn't emotion, but geometry, where every moment is the universe learning how to see itself again. So breathe once more fully, consciously. Feel the world respond. Subtle but sure, the shift is complete, yet always continuing. You are the witness and the wave, the dream and the dreamer, the infinite remembering its own reflection. Rest there, watch the new timeline unfold from the inside out.